Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for the Making Progress channel. Today's video topic is the formula for success in anything. Slightly loaded, don't worry, I'll explain what we mean in just a bit. It's video number 40, yay! Nobody's cheering. Productivity and work. You guys seem to be more interested based on the analytics of which videos do better on our channel in life advice kind of stuff. And I have been fortunate enough to have some pretty decent success in my life. Nothing too crazy or too interesting to write home about, but enough stuff that it's, maybe I know a little bit about how to become successful. And so I'm just going to try to share a little bit of my journey with you and kind of 4 things I think are a really good idea if you want to be successful. And another way to think about these is if you don't do any one or all of the 4 things, success is going to be much more difficult to come by. So first, allow me to brag for a little bit about what it is that I can count myself successful in or about. I have a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They don't just give those out. I'm a national level bodybuilder. They don't just give that out. I have a PhD in sport physiology. I've been a college professor for a long time at a bunch of different places. I'm a social media influencer. That one's tough to say. Apparently it's an accomplishment of some sort. I'm a co-founder of RP Strength, which is a company that has done over $100 million in lifetime revenue, which is apparently pretty impressive. I'm a co-designer of 2 apps, which is pretty sweet. I'm a co-author of tons of books. I've been an international authority, international speaker on sport, science, and training and diet and fat loss for a long time, blah, blah, blah. This is really strange to say, but in any case, I've done things and become successful and made lots of money. So I probably don't know most things, but I do know a little bit about, at least in my life trajectory, what has seemed to potentiate success the most. So let me share it with you so maybe you can become a little bit more successful, and then you can hire me as your paperboy in your trillionaire house that you live in. Scott, do they still have paperboys?
I think so.
Are you allowed to be around paperboys?
Depends how old is the said paperboy.
And there we stop. 4-step process in becoming successful. By successful, I mean having better time with it than not, being better at something rather than not. It's all on a spectrum. But if you really, really do these 4 things, these 4 steps properly in a row, you really give your everything to them, you could see a remarkably high level of success in whatever it is you're doing, maybe more than you were expecting. Step number 1 is to find out what you're good at, what you have a knack for, what you're talented for. So how the hell do you do that? The best way to do it, in my experience, is to pick something that interests you and at least try to do it pretty diligently for a few weeks, at least a few weeks. If it seems to come naturally to you, you enjoy doing it, but less enjoy doing it and more like you're pretty decent at it, you can figure it out quickly, you're getting better at it quickly, keep doing it. Weeks or months into that process of investment, you should probably test yourself against a normative base. People scored somehow on whatever it is you're doing that have also been doing it for a few weeks, few months, and then see how you're doing. If for as long as you've been doing the thing, you're pretty damn good, then you might have a knack for it. If for as long as you're doing it, you're average, maybe choose something else. If for as long as you've been doing it, you're below average and it's really just not coming easily to you after weeks and months of investment, maybe try doing something else. Here's an example. Math in school. Are you good at math? Because it says find out what you're good at. How do you know? Well, you got to try it. You learn in school. You learn through the textbook. You do quizzes. You do tests. Easy to figure out how well you're doing. If you think maybe it's organizing marketing campaigns for work, read some books on marketing, how to organize campaigns. A couple of questions to ask yourself in this kind of realm is the content making intuitive sense to you? Because sometimes you read something and you're like, yes, oh my God, I bet the next thing is, yep, guessed it. And sometimes you're reading it and you're like, I actually have no fucking clue what they're talking about. It just doesn't seem to make any goddamn sense to me. And can you understand a lot of what's happening at a deeper level, or can you just not relate to it at all? Both intuitively and explicitly. Like, is it sinking in? If it sinks in and makes a ton of sense, good things are happening. If it's not sinking in and making a ton of sense, maybe you'll be successful with it later, but maybe it's not your jam. Remember, we're trying to find out what you're talented at. We don't have forever to try. In the marketing realm, you can take some online courses and then test in the courses, because there's often or pretty much always tests and quizzes you can take in the courses. If it's just snapping the finger and coming to you raw and you're getting fucking 100% on shit, yeah, this might be you. If it's really a struggle and really tough and you're failing a lot of the stuff, maybe this isn't your jam. All relative, but better than worse information on trying it. Another example is coding. Let's say you want to pick up coding and see if you're any good at it. You can learn to code basics via something like the 10,000 free online courses they have for coding. Figure out how easily is it coming to you. If coding is just something just coming to you and you're goddamn doing it and you're like, holy shit, this is a whole new world, amazing. If you're struggling a lot with it early, that's okay, keep up at it. If you're struggling a lot with it weeks into the process, there's only one thing you have to do then to find out if it's maybe not the best use of your time, and that's try the problem sets in the various coursework you're doing. Try various coding challenges after a few weeks of starting, maybe a few months of starting, and then see how you did. There's always normative data to see how other people do in this kind of challenge, or percent failure rate, blah, blah, blah. And if it's at first wasn't making a ton of sense to you, but a few months later, you're just knocking coding challenges over the wall, amazing. But if the entire time it's really difficult, really confusing, just maybe not that difficult, but you really just don't like it at all, and it's just a pain in the ass to do, and you're not exceptional at it, maybe you're not going to be the best in the world at coding. This entire thing, this point number one of finding out what you're good at, is literally just that. Trying a bunch of stuff and finding out what you're good at. Because typically, folks that get really good at stuff, they find a pretty early knack at it. And if you try a bunch of different stuff, you're going to find out what kind of stuff, not just specifics, but what kind of stuff. Is it mathematically related stuff? Is it interpersonal human related stuff? Is it psychological stuff? Is it intuitive stuff? What kind of stuff do you seem to have more of a knack for? Now, you might be involved with math and coding and marketing at the same time. You might be trying them all at the same time, and you might even be good at all of these things at the same time. You might even be doing 5 other things and be pretty good at all of them, which is awesome. Now you have to explore all those things to see not only what you're good at, which you probably have a pretty good idea already, but what you really like to do. For example, there are lots of people who are really good in high school math that just don't really like math. They're just good at it. And I'm going to tell you right now, passion and liking/loving what you do is such a huge modulator of success. I would not call it a negotiable. You got to be good to be successful. You got to be good at the thing. If you suck at basketball, you're not going to be successful at basketball, no matter how much passion you have for it. But if you don't have passion for something, you will not put in the work, and you will not mull over the details day in and day out to try to become a perfectionist at it. And thus you probably won't be successful, even if you're knack at something, unless you really, really like it. So part 2 here, find out what you like to do, is you're already good at some stuff and you know what you're good at. So of those things that you're good at, you got to try to find, do you really like them? And if so, how much? Couple questions to ask. One is, which one of these things do I like the most out of the others? Pretty simple. Maybe you can rank them. Another one is, can you really see yourself pouring years into your time, to master these things? That's a big question. If you really like something, you might be like, yeah, I could see myself. I'm not saying I have to, but I could see myself really getting in. Versus if you just kind of like it a little bit, someone's like, years, you're like, I don't know about that, man. Like, solving Jenga puzzles is hard, challenging, and fun, but fucking years, fuck that. Then maybe it's not your jam. Another one to ask yourself, and this is not a yes or no answer, is does it have career potential? Why am I saying this? There is success in hobbies, just to be good at stuff, like becoming an amazing wrestler or jiu-jitsu grappler or chess player. You're not getting paid for these things unless you're pro and ultra elite, which almost no one is. And then there's success like career-wise, which you actually get paid money for. So I would ask myself, what kind of success am I looking for here? And another way to say that is, does it have career potential? Will it make you lots of money and potentially get you famous for being amazing at your job, or locally famous and thus even more money? Or is it just kind of a hobby and no more than that? And both are okay, but I just want to make sure that we understand the difference between the two, because a lot of people define success as money/fame, and just being like that killer purple belt at your jiu-jitsu gym is, I would say, really great success, but maybe other people wouldn't define it. So you can use this success rubric to both pursue money/notoriety, but also pursue any other hobby that you just understand as a hobby isn't necessarily going anywhere after that, but you still want to be successful at it. And obviously, like, if you want to be successful at like being a fun person to go on dates with or something, you're probably not going to be making money off that unless you're like trying to be like a gold digger, a male gold digger. That's tough, but maybe you've got it in you, right? What I would say is in things that are highly competitive, like sports, bunch of different hobbies, don't expect or plan to become the best of all time in most cases. That's fucking stupid. And the few celebrities and athletes that have become the best of all time that tell you to believe and hope, they don't understand statistics, I don't think, maybe, because it's almost never going to work out for almost everyone. The advice I have for you today on success is designed to be applied by almost everyone to get some moderate to very high degree of success in their chosen area. But I'm not going to promise you it's going to make the best at your sport or become a legend. I wouldn't have that as a goal. Just try to become better. Success in some ways at the end of that tunnel for you in most cases. Now, here's the thing. Of all these things you're trying to try to see which one you like, you might not love any of them right away, but you sure as shit need to like it pretty soon. If you're amazing at tennis in the first couple months, but you hate it or you're neutral to it, you're not going to become amazing at tennis, not in the grand scheme. If you at least like to play tennis, it's worth a shot. If you already love to play tennis, hey, that's really great. You don't need to love it at first. You do need to at least like it. Most greats got into whatever they were going to be great at, sports or chess or finance or whatever it is they're great at. They usually found their niche and found that they liked it within weeks or months of starting to do it. So if it's not your jam within a few weeks or months of diligent effort, it's not your jam. Notice, I didn't say hours, days, or minutes. If you spent 3 days doing something, you don't really like it, that doesn't teach you almost anything about how much you could like it later. But weeks and months, yeah, it starts to be a pretty good litmus test for if you're really going to like that thing. You already know you're pretty good at it, because remember, we're only trying this with stuff we're pretty good at. And now we're trying to find out, of the things we're pretty good at, which one do we like the best? And you can have a rank ordered list just the same. But I will say, if you have two things you're equally good at, or even a thing you're pretty goddamn good at, and a thing you're just good at but low-key good at, whichever thing you are most passionate about, and maybe the answer is neither, that if you happen to be ultra passionate about the thing that you're just pretty good at, not remotely passionate about the thing you're pretty goddamn good at, your best path to success is probably the thing you're not so great at yet, but pretty good, that has lots of passion. Passion is a humongous deal. And passion is what separates, in large part, people who couldn't do the thing and weren't considered amazing by others and people who could. If you can do something, whatever activity we're talking about here, be it math, accounting, sports, pick up art stuff, you hit on girls, whatever. If you can do it for hours when no one pays you to do it or no one's watching you and evaluating you, it's probably your jam. If you can't do it for hours without getting paid or without getting instant feedback about how good you are, maybe it's your jam, but much less likely. Find what you're good at, part one. Just generally, I don't mean the best. You're not going to be the best at anything, but have a knack for. Step two is find out, of the things that you're pretty good at, what do you like to do the most? Part three, of the thing or two or three that you chose that you like the most and you're pretty decent at, here's part three. And this one hits a little bit like a ton of bricks. And this is how you know this isn't a bullshit motivational talk to give you lies, but it's the real deal because it's just not that great. Step three is to do that thing for hours, days, weeks, months, years, and decades in many cases. Now, this isn't bad news, and I'll tell you why. Remember, we've already established two things. You're pretty goddamn good at the thing, and you like doing the thing. And because it's either a really good use of your free time, and if it doesn't make you money, because you like to do it and you're good at it, or because it makes you money and you like to do the thing and you're good at it, you can just keep doing it. And if you can keep doing something without worrying about when is my break, how long do I have to keep struggling to accomplish this thing, you're going to be able to put in the hours, days, weeks, months, years, and decades in order to accumulate the amount of improvement time that eventually will make you really fucking good at the thing. And in my experience, the people that get the best at things are the people who like doing the thing so much in that they just do the thing. And they're not like doing a jujitsu roll and after 6 minutes, they're like, how many more of these do I have to do to become an expert? No. As soon as the 6 minutes is over, they're taking some water to the face and going to the next person and be like, you want to do the next 6 minute roll? They want to be there. They want to do the thing. They like doing the thing. And thus, in most cases, the area under the curve of time multiplied by effort, how long you've been doing the thing, and thus how much better you've been getting at it. And there is no way to get better at a thing that beats investing a crap load of time into it over the long term. If you're doing that, but you're only doing that because you like to do it and you got the time, the hours, days, months, years, decades, etc., they're going to fly by. And at some point, you're going to realize, holy shit, I'm really good at this thing. And that wasn't even ever really my explicit intention. It was at first, but then I fell in love with playing the violin. And I just want to fucking play it all the time. And then I do, and then I'm fucking great. That's how that shit happens. To put it another way, and from another perspective, you don't actually decide when success comes, however it is you define it. You don't decide when you get promoted to black belt. You don't really decide when you defend your PhD. You don't decide when your business starts to boom. You don't decide when you make the national team, and so on and so forth. That's for the competition and other authorities to decide. You just do your thing. But if you're doing the thing, being research, if that thing is solving math problems, if that thing is coding, if that thing is organizing marketing campaigns, if you do it and you have a knack for it and you like it and you keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it, you become better at it. It'll take a long, long, long time. And you don't choose when success comes, however you define that success. But the longer you keep doing the shit you like and that you're pretty goddamn good at to begin with, the more the probabilities of success multiply because your magnitude of effect, your capability, becomes insanely high. Let's take boxing. If you are pretty good at boxing and you like boxing, and then you train for 5 years in boxing very, very seriously, success, however you define it, let's say the ability to beat most people in a boxing match, is something that we don't know yet, let's say. But someone who's pretty good at something and likes something and did it for 5 years, do you think they're going to be bad at it? No. They're probably going to be really fucking sweet. After that, you line up your first amateur fight, you knock the guy out in 30 seconds, you do a couple more amateur fights, you knock those guys out in a few minutes, and then you're a pro, and then you go 9-1 because you've been doing the thing. At the end of the day, every single time you get in the ring to box another person, their record doesn't matter, their accolades doesn't matter, what the press said about them versus you does not matter. What matters is who's better at boxing. How do you get good at boxing? Coming back to the same thing. You have a knack for it genetically, which you found out early. You like boxing and thus you like the training, and you've trained for an inordinately long amount of time so that you can accrue the experience to get really good at boxing. And then you might be the next world champ. And someone's going to ask you, what did you do to become successful at boxing? And just like many athletes give dog shit interviews, you'll be that person and say, well, I had kind of a knack for boxing early on and I really liked it. So I kept doing it and just knocked out the world champ. So any other questions? It really is that straightforward. Lastly, there is a detail there. And that detail is point number 4. So far, we have find out what you have a knack for. The next thing is, of the things you have a knack for, see which ones you kind of like doing the best. The third thing is to put a crap load of time into it. The fourth thing is the thing that modifies the third. So let's zoom back into the third thing. Put in lots of time. But while you're putting in lots of time, there is a way to put in lots of time that makes you better than the other ways. Here's what I want you to do when you're putting in the hours and hours and hours of work and effort at this thing you're trying to become successful at. you're going to want to try at least some slightly different approaches at every level of your craft. Little differences here and there. To give an example from our RP Strength YouTube channel, which is kind of, doing really well, we try some different titles, some different thumbnails, some different topics, some different delivery modes. Sometimes we do a little less comedy, sometimes we do a little more. Sometimes we do a little dark humor, sometimes a little light humor. Sometimes a lot of science, sometimes a little science, sometimes more practical, sometimes more academic. We change things little by little. And we're looking to see which one works the best, and which one you like to do the best, and which one seems to be more in line with your talent set, and probably which one has the best outcome. If you don't ever try anything different, you're just going to do one thing, you might have some success. But there could have been an alternate universe in which a slightly different thing you would have been incredible at. I was a professor for a long time. I was pretty good at it. But I never gave lectures on YouTube. I just didn't know it was a thing that I was supposed to be doing with my time. Then Scott the video guy and I hooked up, and we had lots of sex. But then after we were physically recovered, the amount was just damaging literally to the physical tissues of the body. I digress. We started doing the YouTube thing. And after trying a bunch of different stuff, and including trying YouTube at all, we realized actually Mike's pretty ducking water to this shit. So let's keep doing it. But I would never found that out if I still generally did the same thing of got a PhD, helped to start a big company, made apps. I had already done all that before the YouTube popped off. I was like, I'm good at what I'm good at, but just a slight deviation can make a big difference. There are lots of people that do incredible things in wrestling but never become the best in the world. Then they go to MMA and now they're the best in the world. There are wrestlers that were pretty good at wrestling but then became the best in jiu-jitsu. There are jiu-jitsu people that start young and start doing wrestling in high school, and then they love wrestling, and then they become the best in the world. They're best for themselves. These are all very related things, but they never branched at all, and thus they never knew. But some people who branch can find out. And then in any one particular thing, in jiu-jitsu, are you good at takedowns? Which ones? How are they executed? You have to try little differences to find your best approach somewhere in there, because genetically you have a talent set that's going to have a very specific game that is your best theoretical game in any craft. But you can't find out what you're best at if you just assume you're already doing it and never change a thing. Eventually, you're going to find out through trying all kinds of different things within your craft. You're going to see which one of these things have the potential to elevate your craft furthest if you see them through. You start working on single leg takedowns in wrestling, and all of a sudden, the shit's really moving, bro. And you are good at double leg takedowns, but singles are just creaming off of people. All day singles, backwards singles. And then man, I can build an arsenal on this shit. There are wrestlers. Cael Sanderson with his what the fuck is that thing called? Good God. Ankle pick. Jordan Burroughs, maybe the greatest American wrestler to live, certainly the greatest modern American wrestler to live, with his double leg. That once they found that they were good at these things, they all tried different wrestling moves, I assure you, many, many times. But they found those moves that worked ultra well for them, and then they found out those moves have the longest legs. They're going to take you the furthest. They lashed onto them and went. Now, I guarantee you, they tried different setups and variations of moves. They even tried other moves. It's just some moves work better than others. But if you just stick to one move you learned early and you become locally good at that move because you've never tried anything else, there may be in the global set of all moves in combat sport, one you've never thought of that's way higher than the other. As a matter of fact, when I was a white belt, I described myself as what's called a top player in jiu-jitsu, which means you get on top of people and you do your stuff from there as opposed to getting under people. And I thought I was a top player because I had wrestling history and I was strong. But it turns out ever since Mr. Josh Vogel, my jiu-jitsu instructor, taught me how to do a really good deep half guard, which is a position you underneath someone, it opened up my game to make me the best I've ever been. And now I just describe myself as a jiu-jitsu player instead of a top player or bottom player, but I would have never known there was a bottom game unless it was taught to me and unless I explored it. So what you want to do is vary the shit, see what sticks, see what works, do a little bit more of that, What doesn't seem to work as well, still try, but do a little bit of less of that. Do more of the effective shit, less of the less effective shit, and always keep a bit of room open for variation and experimentation. Scott, the video guy, and I know pretty well what does on the channel for the RP Strength YouTube channel, but we don't know 100%. And we also don't know the following, the unknown unknowns. Of all the things we've tried, we know how they stack up. Exercise scientist reviews, theoretical discussions, interviews with experts, training videos, we know how those stack up to each other. But what we don't know is if there's something floating out there that we could try as a video topic, an idea that would be the best thing we've ever tried. We don't know, honestly. So there's never, you know what you know, and this is what you stick to. You always keep a bit of room open for experimentation because you could find that next big thing. Shit, up until what, Scott, about a year ago, we weren't even doing exercise scientist reviews videos. And that's the thing that was the best thing in our channel. It fucks better than everything else, pretty much. Fucks is an industry term. We just had no idea that that was a thing we could even do until we tried it. Because here at what the same exact building used for RP Strength YouTube and office and laptop and camera, we always keep an open mind to trying a little bit of some different shit. Worst case scenario, the video doesn't do that well. Best case scenario, the shit does really well. We're like, ooh. And we don't automatically find what we do really well at, cancel all the other content on the channel, and just do that one thing. We keep it varied, have a couple things we're seem pretty good at, and always bring in new stuff to try. If you do that while working hard at your craft, you are destined to become as successful as is genetically and environmentally possible for you at the time. I'll put it another way. If you don't have success, it won't be because you did something wrong. It'll just be like, that's the way fate fucking bent the universe. If I'm not successful, I don't want it to be because of me. If I am successful, I want it to be because of me, because I can continue and replicate that success. People who do songs, make songs, and then have one-hit wonders. What do you think they tell themselves? Like, it's because I'm a good musician. Really? Then where are your other hit songs? Well, I guess it was just fate. Okay. So ideally, you want to put in the work in this logical way that I've described so that however much success you do get is almost certainly because you were talented at the thing, you like to do the thing, you did the thing for a while, and you did that thing intelligently with some experimentation, improvement and iteration, learning lessons, tilting a little bit more into the direction of what works, a little bit away from the direction of what doesn't, and keeping a nice pool of experimentation in. And that is how you can ascend to your highest possible level that you are capable of. Now, all of this thing taken together, I have to remind you, you don't have to become legendary or be the best of all time to call that success. There are different levels of success, and all of them feel fucking great. It's even awesome to be like the best Monopoly player in your family when you guys play Monopoly every Friday night. Jew giveaway, my bad. If you're the best, even that feels nice. You're the best guy to throw. What's that cornhole thing that frat boys play, Scott? Cornhole? The cornhole thing called cornhole. Even if you're really good at that, like, it's awesome. You get paid money. You might get some sorority girl attention by being the cornhole champion or some shit like that. Fuck that up with dog shit game. But that can be success. Being the best regional manager in your area for the Chipotle Corporation could be a massive success. And being, one of the top 10 bought out software companies in the year 2026 could also be your definition of success. Everything in between is success. And you are not guaranteed shit. But if you do invest a lot of time into something that you have a knack for and that you really like doing it, and you actively and intelligently work on improving it, you're at least going to be really fucking good. And that's a big deal. Let me give you an example. I didn't approve this with him at first, so maybe he'll be upset and kill me. My jiu-jitsu instructor, his name is Josh Vogel. He co-owns and works at the jiu-jitsu company in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania with Ange, who's also a fucking killer. Josh will be the first person to tell you that he's not like some kind of God's gift to athletic. He looks like a hipster. Literally. He's like 5'7", and 150 pounds and wears thick brim glasses and has big poofy ears. And he's like a skateboarder guy. This is not exactly God's greatest gift to athleticism. He's not like 6'4", 220 or some shit. It was the best athlete at his high school when he was 8. I don't even think Josh played sports in high school or middle school or the rest of his life. But when he started doing jiu-jitsu, he hung in with it long enough to find out that he had a bit of a knack for it. And eventually, he really started to like it. And he dedicated decades of his life to it, but he didn't just stupidly train decades in some kind of monotonic fashion. He became obsessed with finding ways to improve his game and his students' games by trying different stuff, seeing what worked, seeing what didn't, and tilting on the margins. And that's why, years later, he is a sleeper merc who drops me every fucking time we roll. And I am not the easiest roll in the world. And he's winning gold medals at IBJJF tournaments. This is a fucking big deal. For a guy that was never really ultra gifted, he definitely had a knack for it, but he's not the world's greatest athlete or some shit like that. He found out what he had a knack for. He found out he liked it. He put in the work. He tested and iterated over time. And now he's fucking unbelievable. And for as good of an athlete as he is, he's 5 times the coach and teacher that he is the athlete. He's unbelievable. And he puts everything into his teaching and coaching. He thinks about the shit all the time. That is the path to success. And if I can be successful, and I'm not that talented, if Josh Vogel can be successful, and he's talented, but not exceptionally so, I don't think. No offense, Josh. Jesus Christ, please don't kill me. Then you may have a chance at doing your own thing and finding a lot of success in whatever it is you're interested in finding success in. So do your thing, explore, find what you have knacks for, find what you like, be curious, put in the work, be patient, and your chance of having at least a very respectable level of success in your chosen crafts is a very, very high. I'm not going to say you're going to win world championships. I'm not going to say you're going to become a trillionaire, but are you going to do really goddamn well on the thing that you had a knack for and liked and worked at and tested and iterated? Yeah, fuck yeah. So if you're looking for the formula of a high chance of success, this is it. Is it a hack? No. Is it going to take a week? No. If you want people on YouTube to tell you that shit, they're fucking liars. Great. Not your first rodeo. Is this sexy? Not really. Does it work? Yeah, fuck yeah, it does. Give it some thought, ask some questions in the comments. And if you guys like videos like this, I'd love to make more of them for you to help the learning going on. As a matter of fact, in the comments, if you want me to talk about more topics related to this kind of stuff, overcoming difficulty and shit like that, overcoming doubt, psychological shit, relationship shit, I'm a wellspring for endless advice I'm not qualified to give and shit I'm probably wrong about. But if you like the ASMR sound of my voice, see you guys next time, and maybe I'll have less dumb shit to say.